Hello and welcome to another episode of Autogefühl. Today with me AJ and Thomas B. This weekend we are here in Barcelona at the Cupra factory, just a couple hours outside of the city. And we are here for the world premiere of the new Cupra Leon. So stick around and we'll take a closer look at this hot hatch. So here it is, ladies and gentlemen, the fourth generation Leon. The headlamps are now very much horizontal, a totally different design. The previous generation had a more wider headlamp with another angle down here. But at the same time, there are nice detailing around the edges. You also have this daytime running light signature, a very strong muscular bumper down here, flanked by these vertical gray cosmetic elements. These are all cosmetic inlays, but they still seem like they have some aerodynamic effect to channel the air towards the side of the car. Overall, a very striking bumper. The entire front of the car seems to be narrowing itself, coming towards the front in this very concentrated area. Of course, the new Cupra logo taking center stage with this very tribal art-looking, copper-colored delta wing-shaped logo down here. So overall, I think I just need a little bit more time to feel much more comfortable with this design. But what do you guys think? Do you like the way the new Leon looks, or do you prefer the previous design? So the new Leon has certainly grown in size. It's now 4.37 meters long. That's about 9 centimeters longer than the previous generation. In fact, the wheelbase is also longer than the current Mark 8 Golf, the same wheelbase as the Skoda Octavia. So we'll see how that fares once we actually get our hands on the car and get to drive it out on the street and hopefully on the racetrack, because a longer wheelbase definitely means there's more stability, but sometimes that comes at the compromise of agility. But nevertheless, you do have some new wheel designs. This is the 19-inch wheel design. I really like this. This is also the plug-in hybrid version of the car, and we'll talk about the engines in a little bit. But this is also kind of having that pseudo aerodynamic electric hybrid kind of design, because it's got quite a lot of cover on the rims itself. But I do like the copper accents. Going further along the side of the car, typical with the previous generation Seat Leon as well as the other Seats and Cupras, there is one very sharp design line at the top, which fades away at the back of the door here. But at the same time, there is another line that's coming in from here. In the previous generation, these lines were a little bit staggered. You would have one line from the front coming down here and the line from the back going a little bit higher, but now they seem to be at the same level. So this also gives the car a much longer appearance. There's also a very strong side skirt down here. The Cupra Leon is actually lower than the Seat Leon. Of course, this is to improve the center of gravity and improve the handling overall. A very subtle but very elegant spoiler here integrated into the rear hatch. A pretty sharp rake line, and as you can see, the new tail lamps, and we'll take a closer look once we come around, they also wrap around quite a bit towards the side profile of the car. So I think I like the side profile a lot more than I like the front. What do you guys think? I personally like the rear of the new Leon because I think there's a lot more shapes, a lot more contours. It's very sculptural, very three-dimensional. And I actually do really like this horizontal LED light strip. This LED light in the rear also has a lot of cascading and animated functions. So when you unlock the car and lock it, the light will cascade all around. The turn indicators are also animated. So I think this new rear design is very cool. We see this in a lot of performance cars, especially in the Volkswagen family, all the way up to the Porsche. So, I don't know, I think it's pretty cool. The sharper rake angle here for the rear window is a little bit more evident here. But at the same time, you do have this very strong lip. Then you have like the scooped down section right here in the hatch. Cupra stamping, very bold and glossy black with that logo right in the center. As we go further down, as you can see right here on the nameplate, this is the e-hybrid, the plug-in hybrid version. So that means, unfortunately, if you take a look over here, yes, these are just cosmetic exhaust tips. But do not fear, the 2-liter turbo petrol engines do have actual exhaust tips, and I'm sure they sound great. But yeah, here you do have cosmetic exhaust tips in the copper finish color, kind of like a dual port exhaust kind of a design on either side, but there is a very nice rear diffuser as well. So overall, definitely very athletic, very youthful, and very sexy, I think. Let's take a look underneath the hood at what powers the new Cupra Leon. But before that, quick word about the regular Seat Leon. The Seat Leon comes with a wide variety of powertrain options. So you have turbo petrol, turbo diesel, CNG and plug-in hybrid as well. Starting off with the very familiar 1-liter 3-cylinder turbo petrol engine, which makes 90 horsepower. There's also the 1.5-liter turbo 4 petrol engine with 150 horsepower and so on. But here in the Cupra Leon, you get either a plug-in hybrid version like the one you see here, or the 2-liter turbo 4 petrol engine. This plug-in hybrid makes a combined output of 245 horsepower that is basically coming from a 1.4-liter turbo petrol engine and an electric motor and a 13 kilowatt-hour battery. You can drive the plug-in hybrid for up to 60 kilometers on pure electric mode only, and you can charge it up to 100% in 3.5 hours with a wall box. But if this doesn't tickle your fancy, there's of course the 2-liter turbo 4 petrol engine, a very versatile engine in the VW family, the EA888 that we know quite well, of course advanced now, and that you can either get with 245 horsepower, just like this, 300 horsepower, and 310 horsepower as well. The 245 and the 300 are front-wheel drive with a limited slip differential, and you get the 310 only in the Sport Tourer, the estate version, with all-wheel drive. Unfortunately, though, the bad news is there is no manual option anymore. It's all the new shift-by-wire dual-clutch transmission only. Take a look inside. First of all, there's a pretty cool puddle lamp here with the Cupra tribal art logo, which of course you cannot see now because it's quite bright in the studio, but that's pretty cool. The door opens really wide, so making ingress really easy. Let's take a look at the materials on the door. You have soft touch at the top, a nice contrasting glossy element of plastic inlay over here, so soft materials down here and here as well. And even down here, even though this is hard, it's got a nice perforated textured design, which I really like. So even though it's probably not a most expensive material, it still makes it feel very luxurious and very cool. Something new also about the new Leon is the LED interior light. So there's light down here, which provides a nice hue, but as well as along the top of the door, which continues as you look inside all the way along the top of the dash, kind of wrapping you in this cockpit cocoon like ambiance. The seats, by the way, are bucket seats here because it's of course, the Cupra, so the performance version. And yes, you do get full textile fabric only options, which is really great to see. But of course, there is also a full leather option. The one you see here is the black leather, but there is also a petrol blue. Let's get inside. Well, first of all, what really grabs your attention is this new steering wheel. And I must say, it does look really cool, really menacing, almost alien-like, like an alien starship from a video game, I don't know, with this logo and all of these this copper color. The vents, by the way, as you can see, the design is very similar to the front grille, so kind of has a very cohesive design language. A lot of shapes and, you know, like a little canyon over here. So it does feel very futuristic, very, very tribal. I don't know, I really like it. There is some interesting inlay as well along the center with the same color that we saw on the door, which runs along the middle of the dashboard. The materials are also really soft touch. I can even bend this material over here, and even around here is not too bad, but of course as we go lower it does get a bit harder. But I think the steering wheel has a great grip. This also is the new capacitive steering, so which means that, for example, for the lane keeping assist, previously the technology would be that it would just monitor how, if you had the steering wheel in the same position for too long, then it would conclude that you didn't have your hands on the steering wheel, and hence this could result in a lot of false positives. This actually happened to me as well when I was testing the Skoda Scala. But now these steering wheels actually have a capacitive sensor, so they can sense when you're actually holding them or not. New shift-by-wire DSG with great paddle shifters, as you can see over here. A lot of buttons to control your navigation, the menu, and the assistance systems. But also the engine start-stop button is right here on the steering wheel. I don't know, this kind of reminds me of a Ferrari. And of course the Cupra drive mode selector right over here. Anyway, hop inside and let's take a closer look at some of the instruments. So first off, you'll notice the new 10.25-inch virtual cockpit digital instruments, and along with this very large 10-inch touchscreen as well. There's a lot of customization options with the instrument cluster, as you can see. Many different views that you can use, including having a map on the dash as well. You can even kind of customize the individual areas. Like right now I have 3 areas, and if I use this, I can toggle between different controls for this area. I can jump in here and I can toggle between my driver assistance systems. Like this has the adaptive cruise control, the limiter, side assist, rear traffic alert, front assist. This is also an advanced version of this technology. But at the same time, I can also control things like my vehicle status, oil temperature, so on and so forth. So a lot of useful information, maybe a little bit too complicated, but once we have our hands to do a full test and a full review of this car, spend some time with these systems, we can kind of tell you how we feel about it and what it has. There's also a steering wheel heating button over here. And as we move our attention to the infotainment system, of course, this is the top-end version. There's plenty of options that you can have with this, but as you can see, most of the controls are completely with this interface here. There are very few buttons, even for the air conditioning. You have to use this air conditioning system right over here. You can swipe, you can tap, you can make it hotter or colder, the temperature. This is the volume control over here. So it's not that intuitive. It does take a little bit of time to get used to it, and there is no capacitive feedback right now. So I don't really know if I'm pressing them hard enough or so on and so forth. But again, a full thorough test will reveal how these systems really fare. You do have Android Auto and Apple CarPlay to connect your phone. There is an inductive phone charger port down there. A couple USB-C ports as well. So very clean design. We'll take a closer look at the center console, but I wish there were a few more buttons. And once the market specifications of the options are revealed, then we'll see what other options we have for the infotainment system, and if you can get one with actual physical buttons, which I would always prefer. All right, let's take a look at the center console. And as you'll see, the lack of a large shifter, because this is the shift-by-wire system now. A really tiny tab just to flick back and forth to get into the different gears. Of course, you can use the Cupra button on the steering wheel to actually change the driving mode. You don't have a drive mode selector here. So you have Comfort, Normal, Sport, and Cupra, and you can set up individual parameters for an individual mode as well. But this, the lack of these extra driving mode buttons and the lack of a big shifter means that there's plenty of space right here. There's a couple cubby holes on either side, electronic parking brake, auto hold, and also the door lock. A couple beverage holders, which are pretty useful, very square and polygonal in shape rather than circular, however, and a 12-volt power socket here in the central cubby with an armrest which you can move and raise. So overall, finding a comfortable seating position seems to be fairly good. These seats also have really good side bolstering. They also are, completely adjustable for the amount of side bolstering. They're all electronically adjustable with memory. So finding a really nice driving position, as well as moving the steering wheel column, I think you can have a very comfortable drive on the Autobahn. But when you want to go into the track, press this magic button and let the beast unleash itself. Let's take a look in the back seat. The back door is actually a little bit longer now, and that's also because of the longer wheelbase, and hence there is more body here. Another benefit of that longer wheelbase means that there is a little bit more space here in the back seat. As you can see, this seat is set to my driving position. I'm about 5'8" or 1.7 meters thereabouts, and even with the seat low, in a very low position, I still have plenty of knee room. There is just about enough space for me to slide my feet underneath the seat. The bench itself is really comfortable. The reclining angle is also not too steep or too relaxed. I think overall it's pretty good. Also nice arm headrest. There is a small sunroof, not a panoramic roof in this case, so I do get a little bit more light, but at the same time there is a little bit of an extra beam that runs through right here, but also have plenty of headroom. There is a transmission tunnel here in the middle, so a third passenger will have to fight for foot space, but you do have a third climate zone here with buttons to set the temperature, a couple of vents, and a couple USB chargers. Isofix points for child seats on the outside 2 seats, a center armrest with some cup holders which can be folded down as a ski hatch as well. So like I said, you do get the Cupra Leon as a 5-door hatch like the one here, but also an estate. The 5-door hatch has a trunk capacity of 380 liters, that's 380. The estate has 617 liters, that's 617 liters. But this is pretty useful in itself. It's very rectangular. There's very little, contours from the wheel arches. They're not, impeding into the space. It's very rectangular, very usable. There is a little bit of a lip, but you do lose some space as well because of the plug-in hybrid system here in this version. But on the whole, it is fairly usable. You also can remove the parcel shelf very easily and fold the seats in a 60-40 fashion, as you can see, to carry those longer items, and they do fold fairly flat, so you do have a flat loading area. Here we see the Sportstourer version, the estate version. Of course, this is longer. This is 4.64 meters long. The trunk capacity is, of course, significantly larger. This is 617 liters. But the design lines are pretty much the same. You do have one large line in the front and the one in the back, like the one we saw in the 5-door hatch as well. In this new generation, the line is pretty much along the same. It just fades away for a while, but it's in the same level. A large side skirt as well. we have some different wheels here, and this is because this has the 2-liter petrol engine only. And the Estate you can also have, with the 310 horsepower all-wheel drive. The full top flagship version is only available in this Estate configuration. I am here with Matthias Ekstrom. As I live and breathe, it's an honor. Big fan. I mean, I know you from Rallycross, but you are also the driver of the ETCR Leon Cupra, the full electric touring car, race car that we see behind here. But I also know that you are, very much involved in consulting Cupra, in designing and developing the new Leon that we see here at this premiere. So maybe we can start off by talking about your experience, with your vast rallycross and racing experience. What are some of the key things that, that are different about the new ETCR, the new electric Leon Cupra?
Yeah, I mean, compared to the previous one, they have learned a lot for sure, and I've been giving my feedback. So in the new car, you have the latest evolution from the suspension geometry and aerodynamics. I don't have much to do. There are the designers and the efficient guys, the bosses. Then when it comes to the handling, we haven't driven that car yet. So you have to be careful when you touch it. The color is still fresh. So. No, we are soon going to drive it, and really looking forward to this. When it comes to the new Leon, I've been driving it, so we're trying to give feedback, and slowly but gently I'm becoming a hybrid fan, because you have the best of both worlds. And when it comes to the shifting strategy, I've been helping some feedback there with the feedback in the steering, and also with the different driving modes, that when you put it in Cupra, it should behave like a race car, in my opinion. So I tried to squeeze the engineers to say, make it more sporty, make it precise. Steering should be precise, but not heavy. It's a little bit of a balance act to find something that's good enough for a daily driver, but still sporty enough that people can say, oh, I'm excited to go in the car again.
I know that, first of all, the new generation is quite a lot different in terms of the hardware. So, for example, the wheelbase is now longer than the outgoing Leon as well. But according to you, how much of Matthias Ekstrom is in the new Leon Cupra, and what are the few things that, according to you, it makes a lot of difference compared to its siblings? There's quite a lot of siblings in the portfolio of VW as well. What sets the Leon apart? And how much of your DNA is imbibed in the handling of the new Leon Cupra?
I mean, on this specific car, I've been helping for shifting and for steering, but there will come some projects where I will be a part earlier of the process. So, yes, you will feel that race drivers have put their fingers on it, but again, there will be extreme projects coming, but I'm already happy like it is now, that I think people will enjoy driving it, and that's the bottom line. We should make cars that handles well, and for me, balance is the key. So when you turn the steering wheel, you hit the gas, it should have the flow. A bit like people who go skiing, they say carving. I love when the car is carving, because no understeer and oversteer. If you get it sideways, it should be with all four-wheel drifting, and even if you don't drive fast, it should feel precise and dynamic.
Well said. I mean, coming from you itself, you said a little bit about how it should carve corners. A very great metaphor there. And what, according to you, I know you said you also like the e-hybrid. Of course, you still have the 2-liter turbo 4 petrol engine as well. But there's also the two front-wheel drive and the all-wheel drive variants. So according to you, what do you think is more closer to the race cars that you're used to? Perhaps four-wheel drive coming from rallycross, but with your experience driving the new Cupra, the Leon, what do you prefer? What is your personal favorite?
I've always been, and I think I will always be a big fan to have four-wheel drive. And I mean, it's a taste for everyone. For sure, at one stage, it's also cost of car. In the end, the balance is one thing, but when you're on winter roads, slippery, ice, snow, there's not much beating going flat out sideways with a four-wheel driven car and enjoy that. So for me, I will always select Quattro four-wheel drive first. So once you go on tarmac in the summer, the four-wheel drive, front-wheel drive has an advantage of the a bit less weight. Right. So tarmac, I don't really mind, but when it's slippery, four-wheel drive.
I mean, fantastic talking to you. Thank you so much for your time. And I'm excited to get my hands on the wheel of the new Leon Cupra. Maybe do a little bit of that sideways action you were talking about. Hopefully we can bring that out on the new videos.
If you're really kind to me, you might even get to try this one day, but then you have to behave well.
I will take your card and I will give you a call. Cheers. I'm here with Mr. Joaquim Garcia, who is the head of the department for the exterior design for the new Cupra Leon. So first of all, thank you so much for taking time to talk to us about the new design, because first and foremost, this is a significant departure. And I was just telling you earlier, I really liked the previous generation Leon's design. I thought it was, just had the right amount of angles and sharpness and youthfulness, if that's a word, to distinguish itself from the Golf. And the new Golf 8 compared to the Golf 7 is more evolutionary, whereas this with the previous generation, Leon 3 to 4 is quite dramatic. So, first and foremost, is that because you want to have a more unique identity now for the new Leon, not just because of the new Leon, but also because the new Cupra Leon? So what are the things that you guys started when you started designing this car? What did you bring to the table that you wanted to accomplish, and how did you go about achieving that?
Well, you expressed it pretty well. Definitely, when we were designing the Leon and the Cupra Leon, that we developed at the same time in parallel. Mm-hmm. So we made sure that they were both complementary to one another. Both cars, of course, share the same base and the fantastic proportions, and this is one of the big steps ahead if you compare to the previous generations. And in the case of the Cupra Leon, that is what we are seeing tonight, you're right that we wanted to also have a certain uniqueness in it. You have to think that first of all we have a fantastic performance under the hood, and this is the soul, if you want, of the car. But then, being a different brand, being Cupra, starting with the strong logo in the front, already brings to the car a strong personality. Mm-hmm. Of course, if you talk more in detail about the design of the car, you can see that it's a very really spectacular, very striking design in the front, very bold, very self-confident, and also, as I said, due to the performance, it has also some specific details. Mm-hmm. For example, all the wing that you see here, that is integrating the air curtains on the side grills for the intercooler, the specific design of the mesh of the grille that is inspired by this axis of symmetry of the logo. Mm-hmm. For us is the symmetry or the balance between performance and style, and this is very important for us. Of course, all the treatment in terms of color and trim, it's also contributing enormously. You have the specific body color, a specific finish of the parts that are very rich, very, very different, but at the same time, quite understated, quite discreet. It's very strong presence, mm-hmm. but it's not loud, So I'd like to take you through the car, mm-hmm.
To show you some of the details. Obviously, the wheels are another good example. We have 19-inch wheels with a specific lightweight design and the application of the copper color, which is, if you like, the one of the landmarks of Cupra. Mm-hmm. The copper color means much more than a color. It means also that the material itself, copper, is a fantastic material. It's a material that is an excellent conductor for electricity. It's a material that is very noble without being a precious material. We don't want to show luxury. We want to show performance. We want to show a genuine, authentic character. Mm-hmm. So, and this helps us for the philosophy. Mm-hmm. Then on the side of the car, I continue with the color and trim treatment, which is very important. Of course, in the interior, this goes on with fantastic seats, again, an excellent color and material definition, and many details in the inside. Of course, the steering wheel is specific with all the performance items in it. On the side, we have the side skirt that is contributing to this kind of visual effect of bringing the car down to the road, mm-hmm. Really very sticking to the road. It's also helping for the aerodynamics. And then towards the rear, once more, we find this
very refined, very sophisticated, but at the same time pretty strong message of having a car which is very wide looking, with a very nice stance on the road. And then down here I'd like to also highlight that on the Cupra we show the exhaust pipes. It's something also again very genuine, very authentic. I mean, this car has a really remarkable power. So it's something we want to show.
This is the full petrol engine version.
This is the full petrol engine. On the other car you can see the plug-in hybrid version, but altogether it's very strong statement, but at the same time refined and with a certain discretion, you know, certain simplicity and uniqueness.
So we had a very quick look at the world premiere here for the new Cupra Leon. Fortunately, we didn't get to drive it, but that's going to be coming up in a future episode, so make sure you stay tuned for that. Overall, I think the design is a lot more fresh now, has its own unique identity, a bit of a departure from the previous generation, but performance-wise as well, there's more options with a plug-in hybrid version as well. So let me know what you guys think. Do you like the new plug-in hybrid version as an option? And would you pick that? Or would you stick to the full petrol version only? Let me know, put it down in the comments below.